call to order for the Berlin Finance Committee. And the usual disclaimers, you'll be on video, and if you talk, you may be heard in video. Okay, let's just do the simple business here. We always forget is the meeting minutes. Do you need to review the minutes from last time? They're pretty basic.
Nope, they're pretty
Do you
basic.
recall anything you need to
Do you
check?
need a motion to approve?
Yeah, have you looked at them
I
already?
made the motion, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'll call that. Good.
All right,
Somebody gonna make the second?
you have a second?
Okay, I'll
Second.
second. Who's second, Shane?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, any more discussion on it?
No.
All right, roll call, Scott, aye?
Shane,
Cliff,
aye.
aye.
Oops, sorry.
Julie, aye. So it's
Alright.
approved for,
Yep, approved 4-0. All right, so since everybody's here for the schools, right? We might
Yeah,
as
this is
well
all.
get started then, get started right away. So whoever wants to take the lead. So maybe that's gonna be Nancy?
Yeah, sure. Nancy's gonna present the information that you guys requested, and then if you wanna start a conversation tonight, everything's initial. I think we wanted to let you know
Definitely
that.
express
Nothing
that.
has been approved.
Well, yeah, we understand it. So
Yeah,
it's-
so
Yeah.
this is very, things are very much
Very
subject to
preliminary.
change.
Okay. Framework's always good.
And will
Yeah.
change.
So,
So go ahead, Nancy.
yeah, we're being a little different this year. The approach we're taking is we're gonna really wait until we get the revenue from the state and see where we stand before we put the whole picture together. But we figured tonight would be a good opportunity for us to share with you as to the additions that we're planning to put into the budget at this point in time, pending to change either way, give or take. Majority of these were discussed when we had the group meeting. I know Cliff, you were there. I know Kristen, you were there too. So these were discussed. They weren't given to you at that time, but here they are. These are just for your town. I broke them out by school and by position. So I don't know if you really want me to read them for you, whatever you would prefer. So
I would like you to go through it because I
Yeah.
haven't had to read it ahead. I haven't had the opportunity to read them ahead of time.
Great.
So if you-
Yep.
you ha-
Absolutely.
You don't have to
Yep.
talk endlessly, but just kind of walk us through
Yep.
it.
So, yep. I want to sneak on this.
These include benefits, or these just base salaries?
I have benefits broken out down
Okay,
below.
okay.
So the first one is at BMS, is the elementary school, which is a kindergarten para. Then we have a half of .50 FTE math tutor. And if you have questions along the way, just let me know. Additional support for our team coordinators. They're special education, as you guys know from last year. The numbers are picking up significantly, so
Yep.
they just need additional support. So that's new positions at BMS. District-wide. What I mean by district-wide, it hits the whole district. It hits Boylston Elementary, it hits your elementary school, and it hits Tohoto. So we're looking to add grounds.
One sec, before she
Yes.
goes on, just so you understand, when she says 100% amount presented, that's the total figure for the district, that's not Berlin's cost.
Thank you.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. So it's a grounds maintenance person, a .60 FTE occupational therapist. That will be bringing, really the occupational therapist in-house. We currently outsource, so we'll be bringing that in-house, which will save money. And a .60 float nurse. The floating nurse will go where she's needed throughout the schools.
so there's a
Can I-
cost savings with the occupational therapist from,
There is, in that, the 58,566 accounts for that. It's about a $10,000 cost savings. Yep.
Can I ask about the float nurse?
Yes.
What's the current, it's a .60, so it's filling in where something's missing.
Yeah, so the float nurse is going to help cover absences. There's a lot of screenings that need to take place, failed trips, and day-to-day school activities.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is float all three buildings?
Floats all three buildings. Yep. Yep.
All of these district-wide ones are
Yeah,
all three buildings?
District-wide is all three buildings. Tohoto, an athletic director. We currently don't have an athletic director. Maya, which is the athletic association, is it's really looking like they're gonna make it mandatory for next year.
You mean trainer?
Yes.
Well, we're gonna go to
We're
the
going to the
director,
athletic
so just-
director.
Like the
We're on
sports,
athletic
yeah,
training.
okay.
We have to put it in the
Yes.
budget, we're not sure when it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's in the budget. A high school math teacher. This is a position that we put in our district improvement plan. This position will teach financial literacy. Then we have a high school special education teacher. This will allow us to meet our increased needs for special education students.
Mhm.
Now we get to the athletic director.
Okay.
We currently have a .80 athletic director. We would like to make that athletic director full-time. So that's the increase to make him full-time.
Okay, so that's an
the
increase.
.20 full-time adds to what's already in existence to make it
Right, so the
full-time.
.20 is 33,000.
And
Yep.
to recap, you said the full-time athletic trainer is a recommendation of the MIAA?
No, so it's in conversations right now with the MIAA. It looks like they're gonna make it a requirement for next
Okay.
school year.
What's that, MIA?
They run,
Massachusetts.
Interscholastic
Yeah.
Athletic Association.
Okay.
Thank
yeah,
you.
run
So it's a
all the sports
requirement?
For the state, yeah.
Okay,
Well, not yet.
not yet. right.
Yeah, yeah.
But with
But
so many
we're
kids,
also-
they're
Okay.
leaning heavily toward it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think as a district too, and as a school committee, and you can speak for me too, is that I think we feel it's a needed position. It's a safety for our children to
Yeah,
have somebody there.
We had one in high school
Yeah,
in Maine. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the athletic director, I mean, so that's additional 33,000 to make it from .8 to 1.
Yes.
So the athletic director's salary is like 165,000.
So it's a complicated position. So currently, the athletic director is part math teacher and part athletic director. So in the budget, it's like, I could get the backup for you, and if you need that, I can. It's like 18,000 coming from the teacher's contract, and the difference is him being a math teacher. But what's happening is he wouldn't be a math teacher,
So that's why I need a full-time.
which is why you need a full-time math teacher. So this is the difference from being an athletic director. It's all the whole math formula behind it, which I'm welcome to send it to you.
But no, I think your question would it be 160,000 in salary?
No, not at all.
No,
No, it's based,
I was gonna say, it's-
yeah.
Right, when you look at that, that's the,
It looks that way because right now, because the way his job's split, so you back out I can't honestly remember what I started with for the athletic director, what we put in.
Let's come back to that.
I can look it up as we go.
Yeah.
So when all is said and done about removing the teaching portion of the current athletic director's job,
Mm-hmm.
making that person full-time, requires having a full-time high school math teacher, correct?
In part,
And
Cliff,
yeah.
because that person we want to take on teaching the financial literacy course is a mandated course for students
In
before they
addition to
graduate.
what the
Filling the.
current athletic director is teaching in now.
Correct, right.
Okay.
That's the only way we can do it there and get that financial literacy
Got
piece
it.
in, so.
Thanks for the clarity, I appreciate it.
Nancy, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
And I apologize, I'm going back to
Yep.
the occupational therapist.
Yes.
So that's contracted out right now. Was the nurse contracted out as well? I'm trying to remember from the other
The
meeting.
float nurse, you mean?
Float nurse.
During COVID,
I
the
thought there was
person
another one that was
Not right.
contracted out, no?
We use a
No,
contracting
so the
company
oh-
for subs, so that might be what you're thinking of.
Okay.
We
that
have to go,
could be
we
it.
Yeah.
had to go through, right, Nancy? We had to go through a contracted company
Oh, you know
for
what it is?
subs.
I know. We currently have a contracted full-time nurse
Oh, yeah.
because we couldn't find a nurse. So right now, we have a contracted full-time nurse.
Okay, that's
what it is.
probably what
One
I
at
was
a
That's what
time.
it is.
Toronto.
Yeah.
It's like weird things your brain tries to remember.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
So I guess my question on the occupational therapist is if there's a contract right now and there's a savings, would it be less than the 58 actually because you're generating a savings there?
So right now, we contract out for 2 days a week.
Oh, you're increasing.
Yes.
Got it,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anybody else before we move to the next page? Okay.
Actually, now I'm kind of confused, so
Yep.
you're actually paying less this year for the occupational therapist because you're only doing it for 2 days?
No, we have a retirement and a person who's going out on a higher salary. I think that's why. And but we're increasing the hours, right, for this person.
For the occupational
So-
therapist, you said it was currently outsourced.
No, so we currently have a full-time occupational therapist,
Mhm.
and we contract for additional 2 days a week
Okay.
out. What we would be doing is stopping the 2 days a week contracted out and bringing in a .60 FTE in-house.
Okay, so stop the two.
Okay.
I know, it gets very confusing.
So you'll have a equivalent of 1.6
Yes.
full-time.
Correct.
Instead of one, you can
Yes.
go to 1.6
Yeah.
and you're eliminating the contracted out
Yes,
position.
yes,
And it was a $10,000 savings.
yes.
Of the 0.6 versus what you're contracting.
Big difference between contracting out and bringing in.
Oh, God, yeah.
Okay.
Of course, all the benefits were in the contract too versus.
Yeah.
But it's,
Saving
it,
too.
our special ed director really feels that it's nice to have control of that position rather than contracting out. It works better.
Well, generally speaking, that's true.
Yeah,
When
yeah,
the person is an employee
Yes.
rather
Yeah.
than a contractor.
yeah, yeah. Okay?
Yep.
You're welcome. Okay, currently we are you can call it negotiating. We have support groups. They're not in a union, but they're in a unified agreement between the administration and themselves.
Mhm.
It's our admin support group, our paraprofessionals, and our custodians. So currently, Carol and I are meeting with them and going over different terms. These numbers are rough. These are very preliminary. They could go up and down either way because this is the very beginning. But at this point in time, the projected increase that we have right now for paraprofessionals is 33%. Custodians are 4% and admin support is 16%, and that is for Berlin Elementary.
Can you go through those percentages again?
Could you, I
Yes.
don't understand that, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just being slow tonight.
The percentages?
So the paraprofessionals, how many people is that?
For BMS,
Scott, I'll say it was 33, 4, and 16.
And admin support, profession, is it in that order?
Admin support's a 16%.
Yeah, okay.
Custodial's 4, and 33 was the paras.
Sorry, custodial was what, Julie?
4%.
4, yeah.
And then the other? was-
16 for admin and 33 for paraprofessionals.
And these are contracts that come about every 3 years.
Yeah.
So that's this
Yeah.
time for their,
I'm just
this
wondering
is
how
their
many there are.
negotiation year.
I have it.
So what does this mean, ongoing support? It's like, it's just to support them and what they do with the cost of...
I think it's their salary.
Yeah,
Salary?
I can, this
Okay,
is salary. This
that's okay,
is
yeah, so-
negotiating salary.
Salaries.
So they're on grids, they move up steps
Yep.
for each year that they're at.
Okay.
This is the overall projection. Keep in mind with paraprofessionals, there's lots of turnover. There's lots of ins and lots of outs. At BMS, I have 18. There's 18 of them. They're individual increases that we have at this point in time is around 4 to 5%.
Now, you say
Overall, sorry.
18, is that full-time equivalent or?
Yep,
okay.
18 FTE.
Okay.
Yep. Overall, with all of them together, it comes to a 33%, but individually, it's 4.
Okay, so overall it's 33%. Okay.
Our custodians is 4.
And they're also non-union, but they have...
They're
they
non-union,
have the-
but they have like agreements with
Right,
the
right.
administration. Yep. And then you have our admin support, which is our clerical, a lot more than clerical. I don't know if that's a correct word, right?
Secretary.
Secretaries at the
Yeah.
schools.
Yeah.
With 2 of the positions of them, we're increasing their days. So that is part of the 16% increase for 2 of them. They're larger increase. The rest of them are getting increases between 3 to 4%.
All right. So generally speaking, the anticipated increase for an individual human doing these jobs is between 3 and 5%, depending on what group you're in. Is that a fair statement?
I don't think we go as high as 5. I'd say
Yeah,
between 3 and 4.
4%.
3 to 4.
Okay.
Yeah. You good for me to move on? And then, so Tohoto, same thing for each group. You have your paraprofessionals, which is a lot lower. You got them, they're at 9%. Custodians 4, and admin support is 17. Again, keep in mind that that's increasing working days for 2 of them, and we're only talking 5. So
Okay. And Tohoto
that's
includes
why-
the middle school and high school, right?
That is correct, yep. And district-wide, we have one individual that works district-wide. It's an increase of 12,000, but it's also a drastic increase in the number of days she'll be working. Yep. For all those positions that we just discussed. Additional benefits come in at about 161,000.
On top of
I
what
took
we-
family coverage, I went to the top, so this is worst case scenario.
Okay.
Yep.
Just remember, these are not Berlin numbers. I just want to keep reiterating
Yes.
that. This is not your increase. It's, so
Mhm.
100% of Tohoto, so then you have to do the percentage on Tohoto. For the district-wide, it's less than, you know what I'm saying? Because then it's the Berlin piece, then.
As we get further into the budget process, once I'm able to look at the assessments and get your figure, then I can give you a more accurate.
When's the state give you your numbers for like your revenue?
February,
Is that hurry up and wait?
February, March.
February, March, okay.
Yeah,
They're in a good mood.
yes, yes.
That's
Yeah.
always
It just, we're
Yeah.
chronologically out of
disconnect.
sequence, just in general.
Yep.
The whole budgeting process.
It's okay.
It's always been a disconnect.
The only good thing is that the governor should have hers out sooner because she was just elected last time.
Right,
You didn't even get the preliminary numbers even longer
yeah,
to get last time.
yeah, yeah. So IT, so under IT for BMS, we're looking to put for safety, walkie-talkies in each classroom. It's for the safety of the schools. It comes to $10,400. Same thing in Tohoto, for each classroom, $20,708. District-wide, $20,000. That's so Carol and I can have walkies and they'll connect to all 3 schools. So we will be able to listen in for emergencies. Curriculum. At BMS, $5,674. That's for new reading sources that's needed for special education. They're in health class supplies are needed. That was a new curriculum that was put into place last year. Tohoto, $63,000. New reading resources for special ed, some software, social studies books, physics and chemistry LabQuest. District-wide, safety care trainers and read-alouds for $17,000.
Could you say that again? Safety what?
Safety care trainers.
Care to go over what that is?
Yes.
I could speak to that.
Yeah.
Special education training for the primarily for paraprofessionals. They're all required to have this training. We moved from another program to this safety care. It's a specific type of program. It's like restraint training.
Well, I'm familiar with that.
Yeah. So
okay.
this is a specific program that's being used now.
And so all the special educators in the district will receive this program?
Yes, the
Okay.
special educators, and then some classroom teachers as well, depending on the students in their
Depending on what
class.
they do.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Title doesn't always reveal the
Right,
detail.
right.
Preschool evaluation, this is for BMS. It is to restructure we're looking to restructure the location of our preschools and expansion of the programming. So a consultant is coming in to work with us on that. This is really a placeholder for the work that we will have to start doing to put this program in place for the fiscal year '26. So we'll get the report by the end of budget season this year, and then that's a placeholder to do the work that needs to be done.
Okay, so that's for the work, not for the consultant?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
That's why, yeah, it's a
Yep.
placeholder.
Yep. NEASC is coming to our school
Uh,
2 years away, but you gotta start preparing.
What's that?
So,
Probably New England something.
NEASC.
National Education.
Association of School Councils?
Yeah, it's where they accredit the high school.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot of work.
Because Desi isn't enough.
A
They come.
lot
Yeah.
more.
Okay.
So that's a
How often do they do
stipend.
that? Is that like
Yeah,
every
10?
Every 10 years.
How many?
But they check in 4 or 5
Oh, they
years
do,
to see
yeah.
how we're doing. Like, they stay on top of us.
Yeah.
They say,
Yeah.
what'd you do? Did you make progress? So they come in. Because we just had them, yeah, a short time ago.
So that's a stipend for some teachers to kind of start doing the prep work on it.
Okay.
Transportation,
Yeah.
oh, sorry. Transportation for Tohoto. So in the past, this includes athletic transportation that hasn't been built into the budget in the past. And and my predecessor used athletic revolving heavily and drained it. And there's not a lot of funds left to do that anymore. So now I have to build it back into the budget. So 20,000 of that is for athletics.
Not like late buses or anything like that.
3,000 of it is for an additional late bus on Wednesdays to enhance our clubs programming. Yeah.
With the athletic, is it like renting a vehicle? Is that,
Is it what?
or is it like leasing a vehicle? I mean,
It's
how does it-
NRT, bus company.
NRT,
Yep,
okay.
Yeah, it's buses.
All right,
Yep.
cool. NRT,
Yeah.
got it.
And they bring the kids to the away games.
Cool,
Pretty
got
much.
it.
Yep,
And the state doesn't give funding back for that, correct?
not for that part.
Yes.
Yeah, they do for the transportation to and from school,
Yeah.
but not for that. Yeah,
I just want to make sure they knew that.
yeah, yeah.
And some of the places can be really far.
Yeah.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
School
Yeah.
sports.
Yeah, I grew up
Yeah.
in Maine, very rural.
Yeah.
Hour
Yeah.
sometimes, hour and a half.
Yeah. Facilities, just a septic pump, preventative maintenance. It's never been put in the budget before. We
Yep.
have a new facility director and he's like, we really need to put that in there yearly. So that's an additional. And then, 24th, mine got cut off. Is yours different?
Oh, yeah, hold on, I have it.
So it's both for Berlin and Tohoto, preventative,
There we
septic?
go. Yes, thank you. It got cut off on my page, I apologize. Yeah. So also that 24,500 is landscaping supplies for athletic fields. Same thing, we're always taken from, I shouldn't say always, I don't know how far back it went. At least the prior 3 years, it was taken from revolving, but there's not enough funds in it, right, to take
Yeah.
anymore.
It was
Was it?
used for that.
Yeah,
To-
yeah. It's
to
unfortunate
meet
that
the
it's
town's
dwindling down.
requirements to have
Yeah.
also a budget.
Yeah, so we have to put that back into this budget because there's no more left. So that covers the above level service. Again, keep in mind, this is a total, but this isn't your actual total. You can get your actual total for the elementary portion, that is it. The others, we have to wait for the revenue to come back. Do you want to move on, or do you have any questions?
I have a question. I apologize. I was at
Yeah.
a meeting in Worcester and I
Sure.
I didn't drive too fast, but.
Good, I'm glad you
Thank you.
drove safely.
So the caption on this whole thing would be preliminary above level fiscal 25 and Berlin impact, so this entire document. The thing, and I did miss that first part, but what I find really hard to follow, and it happens with us with the town departments looking at it, is to say, what's your existing staffing? So you could have a snapshot of your existing staffing by function, and then what's that proposed, to see what the change is. And I understand occasionally you've got contract workers, or you've got 3/10 of an FTE and you're gonna change it to 5/10, but that kind of detail
Like a
would be
FTE to
helpful.
FTE?
Well, so if I were making columns in the left, I'd have the function, and in the middle, I'd have a little snapshot of what we do currently in fiscal '24, and on the right, I'd say, what's the above level? So what is the current service level? and we're looking at it as the above level, and that would be really helpful to track.
I'm sorry, do you mean like total dollar figure? Because she's saying in her list, we're adding 1 FTE, we're adding 0.5, so you,
Yeah, the dollars you could put in the fourth column, but I'm having trouble just following this in the air, you know. This is above level, but what is level?
you want to know how many current employees we have in each school?
I want to look at what the proposed change is, because you know, the number at the bottom is problematic. So it's kind of like, I think it'd be helpful for the district and for the finance committee to understand
So I understand,
the change.
so paraprofessionals, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a new one. So one column, how many paraprofessionals do we have now?
But
What-
their function, right? What's the function?
I guess I'm not clear on what you mean by
Job.
function,
Their job.
Paraprofessional.
Job description, yeah, I think is that what we're looking for?
right?
Well, I mean, like special ed paraprofessional, just anywhere in the school paraprofessional. I don't
I think
have
I might
Cliff's
be
background.
following you. You're asking in these specific areas where there are increases, what the
Yeah.
current levels are.
Yeah.
So like where you have a math tutor, how many math tutors do we have now?
Yeah,
Oh,
Is that,
yeah.
okay, I'm speaking
So
Mary
existing,
tonight.
yeah, so existing and then
and I
additional.
understand
Yeah.
Kristen, so that's
Catching
good.
up.
There you go.
Try.
No, hey, that's what,
So we have to see
Okay.
if that level of detail, if we're able to furnish that, if that's public record, before we,
Well, Megan, I'm not asking for any names or particular jobs. I'm just saying, that's why I said function. So you know, and if it's something that would be too revealing about a particular person, then don't give it to us. But
yeah, like if there's one person that is the, you know, some of these buildings are small, so if there's one, you know, or 3 bridges people and we list their salaries, that's,
Oh, no, that's not.
that's not what I'm
we're
asking.
for.
just
No.
quantity, right? You just, yeah, that's it. How many you have existing right now? So you have 10.
So
you're looking
example,
at-
we currently have one kindergarten para.
Yep,
We are requesting one additional.
Yes, that's.
There you go.
That's
Okay,
the
just
level.
the
We
number.
have, we don't
and
have any
headcount.
grounds people
You're
who are
looking for a
just-
headcount
Yeah,
then?
Yeah,
Got
that's
it.
the level of detail.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
All right,
and you know, if I were to total up the positions, you got a total number at the bottom for everything, but if I were to total up the positions, that's a number. It'd be nice to know what that number is today, this year, just the total number.
Was it 10 positions that we're
Just the
at?
total.
The
Okay.
You
The
know?
total
I have to add
for,
it. The problem we're gonna run into is I don't have the breakout yet for Tohoto to do the comparison. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand.
That's to do that part of it.
Right.
I'm just trying to think.
so
how
she
to-
could give you Tohoto total,
Well,
I could-
yeah, and I don't want
which
to
is what this, you
Right,
understand.
I could still give you the total, but it'll be part Boylston, just like it is here.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
But
Mary,
that's okay.
That's 5.
you
Okay.
understand, this is not Berlin's total, right? I don't know if you heard that at the beginning. Nancy writes on
No,
here.
I have to apologize, I had that problem. I
Okay.
did when I could.
So,
Yeah.
Mary,
Fresh out of another meeting.
where she writes district-wide, 100% amount presented, this grounds maintenance person, $75,000, that's gonna be allocated across the district. So part of that is gonna go to Boylston Elementary, part of that will get allocated to Tohoto, and another part will get allocated to Berlin Memorial School. So there's,
Well, sure,
we don't have a,
yeah, okay.
this
so
75 is
district-wide.
not Berlin's number. A piece of that will be. We do not have that percentage. Same thing for Tohoto. She doesn't have the breakdown. So that's 60,000. That's not Berlin's expense. That's the total expense for Tohoto. So your piece would be somewhere between 33 and 40-something percent, probably closer to the 30-something percent. But we just don't have that breakdown at this point. The Berlin Elementary
Now
stuff,
I
that's
understand.
straight cost to you.
But I think the numbers
District-wide
that
is
she
more
requested make
complicated.
Yeah, I
sense.
could do that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
If I'm
That's
following
easy.
you, I think what you're trying to understand is how many do we have now
Yep.
versus
Yeah.
what are we going to have? Because if you have 10 of something and you're adding one, it's a lot
Head
different than
count.
if you have one of
It's just
something and
head
you're
count.
It's
adding
just a
one.
head
It's fine. It's just a head count.
It's
All right,
just a
that's
head
fine.
count. It's like an FTE.
I thought you were saying like, we have one special ed paraprofessional and this is the
Yeah.
sal.
No.
All right,
I can do that. That's easy.
No,
I can get that.
all right.
we don't need that level of granularity. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I
Mary, do you have
count
any other
analysis.
No,
'Cause I
on
know-
this one,
yeah.
I
Okay.
always have questions, Nancy, but I think I'm
No,
starting
that's
slowly, huh?
That's
All right, but Berlin is gonna, she'll do Tohoto in total, right, Nancy? Because we don't
Yeah,
have the
gotta do
breakdown. So
total.
she can do
Everything's gotta
Berlin
be total.
Memorial, that's easy, and then Tohoto in total.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
All right.
And the other thing just to keep in mind, especially when it
Right.
comes to paraprofessionals, there's always movement. Next year,
Yeah.
kids move grades. So doing that, current versus where we're gonna be, it's never gonna make sense. You really should just take the total of all 3 schools and to see. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Okay. I'll still do it, but I don't want you to look at it and be like, oh my gosh, but
Well, I'm
it's
happy to
because
look at the
kids flip
district-wide as
grades.
well,
Okay.
'cause, you know, that
Okay.
changed.
It'll make more sense to you, that's all.
I can make a thumbnail calculation on what it
Yeah.
means for Berlin.
Sure.
Because we know the ratios roughly.
Okay.
You can take rough ratios, exactly. I was just
Yeah.
gonna say that.
Yep. Anybody else on above level? Okay. You go on. Okay. One of the things that you requested was the fiscal year 23 year-end figures. So I shared with you what was shared with our school committee in October that closed out our school year. So there's 3 of them, these pages, they say
Yep.
fiscal year, year-end figures.
Yep.
In the top left, it'll say district-wide, you'll have one, Berlin, Memorial, and Tohoto. So you're gonna have 3, one for
Okay.
each.
District-wide.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, good, gotcha.
I can read through them, or you can ask questions, or however you would like me to do it, I will.
Perhaps if you gave us an overview for
Absolutely.
each, that might be
Want to do
helpful.
that? Okay. Let's start with BMS, or Berlin Memorial.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did I have yours?
Oh, no, you're good. Yep. No,
I got no, I have an extra.
Oh, you have an extra, okay.
I didn't know if I grabbed yours.
So in BMS, administration, so if you go to the page that says district-wide, you can see what the budget categories are. So if we start with the elementary school, administration is your school committee superintendent, finance, technology, and human resources. That came in 6% above budget. Then you have instructional support, which is your special education, principals, teachers, paraprofessionals, instructional supplies, professional development, and tech supplies. That came in 62% above budget. Reason for that, I'll cover the really big ones. Movement and personnel. We added a half preschool teacher mid-year. We increased to a long-term sub coverage. Legal was over, and some of our software was over.
It's not 62%, right? I mean, it's, you're budgeted 2.588.
Yeah, 2.5, it's only
So it's
it's
a
a
lot
hun-
smaller.
I think I
No,
missed
she
it.
has, you're reading, original percentage
Original percentage
of the budget. That's
Okay.
not percentage increase.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause it's only 21,000.
Fine, that's, yes. thank
She
you.
doesn't have the percentage
So
increases
it
on here.
matched.
Okay.
At
Yes.
the
Okay.
end of the
The
day,
percentage of the budget is still the same.
your difference is always gonna be 0 if you look at these.
Yeah.
Right? It's just
Right,
how they're
'cause it closed
allocated.
out.
Right.
She moved the funds as needed.
Right.
So we have savings in some areas and, obviously overages in others, but the funds were moved, so we didn't go over budget in total. for
The
any
best way to look at
school.
this, and I apologize, I used to present it the other way at my school district, so my brain went right there. So that's what I was doing. So that you have your original fiscal year 23 budget and your final fiscal year 23 budget. That's where the movement happened, and that's where you can tell where it went. And that's the differences of the movement that we made. Thank you.
And you
Yeah.
can,
That's okay.
you can see while there's not, like you said, overall, the net difference is 0 in terms of funding.
Right.
You can see why there is the need to have the ability to move between line items.
Yes.
Because if you couldn't move 58,000 into out-of-district tuition, what would you do partway through the
Yes.
year, for
Yes.
example? So
Yep.
a lot of people have issues with the fact that schools are not required to line item budget in the same way that towns are.
Yeah.
But there are so many nuances, as you know, to what goes on during the school year that there is a necessity for having
Yeah.
that flexibility.
And we always keep the budget transfers within the individual schools, obviously. And we make the administrators be responsible for the budget. So they know that if they're going over on a line item, that the line item they're taking, they're losing money in it, and they're
Yeah.
responsible for figuring it out. So, and they're very good at it. So other services is nursing and transportation. We also actually came in lower with that. That was due to, we had a lot of issues with our buses last year. They were very short. They had a shortage of drivers. So we saved on invoicing due to that. Maintenance and operations, that's our custodial, utilities, maintenance of buildings. We had an increase on that line item. That was electricity and landscaping was mainly the increases there. And we also had cybersecurity that needed to be budgeted, that we needed to pay that wasn't in the budget. Fixed charges, which is your benefits and in your insurance, that was an increase. That's always a gamble. You do your best budgeting it, and you got to see what everyone
Insurance
chooses.
is notoriously unreliable.
Yes, yes. And also, personnel move a lot. The paraprofessionals move where they're needed, so the benefits go where the people go. Out of districts tuitions actually came in lower, but that's because we were able to use more of circuit breaker to save on that line item.
And if you look at the difference between the original percentage of budget and the final percentage of budget, they're relatively, a percentage here and there, but it's not like crazy movement, at least
No.
for Berlin.
Yeah.
And I don't think for any of them, actually.
I had a question about circuit breaker.
Mm-hmm.
Even after being on the committee for 6 years, I still find circuit breaker a mystery. When did you get notified of the circuit breaker funds?
For
That's out of
how much
cy-
we're going to
yeah, that's
receive,
out
it's
of
usually in the
cycle too,
same
isn't
time
it?
frame. Yeah, it's usually in the
Yeah.
same time frame.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you won't know about those till late spring, early spring?
Yeah,
Ish.
February, March-ish, I'd say. Yeah.
Wasn't it late last year?
It was late. Well, we were waiting for the extraordinary fund
Oh,
to see if we were
right,
going to get
yes,
that
yeah,
last year,
yeah.
which we did end up getting, but I don't think we were told until April.
I feel like that was
It
like
was
after
late.
we had voted
Yeah.
on the budget. It's really
It was
hard.
definitely after.
Yeah.
We have to vote. I mean, we're doing our final vote this year. Is it February 28th, Jewel, or is it?
Yeah.
We're
I think
doing
so.
our budget, our public hearing is February 28th.
Yeah, that's about right.
And then we do we're gonna obviously hold it open just in case of public comment, and then final is like, what is it, March 12th or something?
March
I mean, but
19th is the
after that,
final
we
vote.
can't make any
Yeah.
changes. So it's just really difficult when the state isn't giving us information.
They never do.
Yep.
So anyways.
Yeah, I think everybody understands that you're dealing with estimates at that point.
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
understands that, you just have to do the exercise.
Yeah.
And what did we lock in? It's 45 days ahead of town meeting.
Yes.
Yep.
Everything's got to be
Yep.
locked down.
Yep.
By law, yep.
We counted it out.
We have
We're
it very
good.
close to the 45. We're as close
Yeah.
as we can get because we only meet on Tuesdays. So we even voted to change a school committee meeting so we could get it closer to the 45-day mark.
Yep.
So we're trying to be as prudent as possible for all parties involved.
So,
And precise, yep.
just a little aside, do you have a real detailed schedule of when you're doing the financial stuff? There's a subcommittee to the school committee, right? There's a whole-
Yeah, the budget
a whole
subcommittee.
process. Do you
Like-
have
like
those-
the
do you have
budget-
those dates? Do you know?
I think I have it. We have a rough
what your
calendar.
schedule's
I can give you my
calendar,
copy.
yeah?
No, for the budget subcommittee meetings, or you?
Oh, the budget subcommittee
You're talking
meetings.
about
Yeah,
stuff-
Oh, not the
right,
budget
right.
timeline.
Well, it's
We do have a
Department
budget
timeline.
timeline. The budget subcommittee meetings, we sort of do as we go along with this.
More
We don't plan it like you do every
We don't ha-
Monday night at this time. We don't.
Yeah, no.
We have a meeting, then we say when we're going to book our next one, and then
Yep.
book our
Right.
next one.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
these are subcommittee on top.
No.
The school committee
Correct.
meetings are set, but we can't,
Yep,
you know
understood.
how
It
it
is
is.
still posted. It is still posted.
It's still posted. 48
at least
hours.
48 hours.
48
Okay.
business hours. Yep. So we try to get the agenda out a week in advance. I do the agenda. But yeah, I think our next one we just had one last Friday. So our next one is after the holidays. I think we scheduled it for January, that first Friday. Is it the 6th or 7th, Julie?
Yep, January 5th.
January 5th would be our next budget subcommittee meeting.
And they're videotaped.
Oh, okay.
We're usually about an hour and a half. We'd love to have you guys come if you want as we get further into the details. I think we'll probably do a second one in January, I would guess, right, Nancy, before that February
Yeah, Scott
school
Nickerson
committee
came.
meeting?
Yeah, well,
So-
I was looking at our November 3rd letter that went out over Scott Christie's signature, and it said school committee budget calendar, so that's one of the requests in the letters, is to keep us up to date, but it's, if it's posted ahead of time,
Yep.
Yeah, we do have a budget timeline.
We have that. I mean, we have the timeline of when we're voting and the public hearing. If you would like a copy of that, I can give that to you.
well, if it's, because school committee meetings are posted,
Right.
but,
This is just a timeline to, if, like, you would know when
We
the
have
public hearing is
three-
and when we're
Do the
voting.
subcommittees come out on My Town Government too? Yeah.
It comes
Because I
through
keep
for
getting
every.
emails
Yes.
about meetings.
Yes.
Yes,
I'm
that's
afraid
the
to
thing, it's the
reveal my
subcommittees.
secret here, but,
We have a
um,
lot of subcommittees, so you guys are probably deleting them because you probably get like 3
No,
a
I
month.
read them.
I'm not,
Trust me, I delete some of them.
I read them.
I mean,
was
there's
like,
so
share
many,
with
right?
the subcommittee
Policy, there's student success,
Yeah,
there's
there's a lot.
budget, and then there's superintendent evaluation has started up again. So on any
Yes.
given week,
Make that
except last week, I think we had all 4,
That would be great.
right?
Kristen has a solution.
3 of them in the same
Nancy
day.
and I agreed that it's okay for me to share that somehow I got on the list. So I get notification when the agendas come out. I will forward them to you.
I do too.
Oh, good. Oh, you're just more special
You should get it.
too, aren't
Scott should.
Wow.
I did,
That's good with the
I-
agendas, that's good.
There's
Pick the
nothing comes through.
as
I
long
used
as
to
somebody
get
picks
the
the
as long
one.
as
finance
somebody's
update
taking care of this,
agenda.
that would be
This
good.
is
When it
interesting.
changed
He
on
gets
My
it, but
Town
he doesn't
Government.
get it.
Do you not have a finance email?
Well, you have to go to the
We do
website.
have a finance committee email.
Okay, because I could only find your personal email
No, we-
address
we got-
online.
the-
That's the email I emailed you
Take
on.
an action.
Yeah, you gotta
Yes,
take
because
action.
part of the problem is there's been a FinCom email that I was given, we got permission to get into it last year, which clearly had been open like 3 years. Nobody was using it. So, so I have access to that, so what comes to FinCom and also with my own individual email. But until I had FinCom, we were just using all of our own individual emails.
Do we get rid of the FinCom email?
Well, that's the other
Is
thing
that-
too, it's not gone yet. I mean, that
Oh,
was a
it's not gone
discussion
yet.
because we
Okay.
need to free up email
Yeah.
accounts. So the plan was that it would just be changed over on the website to the admin would get, well, where Mary's replacement
Yeah, D.
would get it and forward out. Because it's not a lot of activity, but it was kind of disturbing that you saw people from years past having comments to the finance committee and stuff like that. I mean, nothing was ever looked at in at
Yeah.
least 3 years.
That was part of the problem we were running into is A, we were paying for accounts that nobody was using, and B, then people needed accounts and we said we were full.
Yeah.
So one of the things I've tried to do is, so you can always send communication through our office and I will get it out to the entire committee. That, if you want to send it to me, I
Okay.
mean, I'm town admin at townofberlin.com.
So will you make sure you're definitely on the agenda
I am on
distribution
the
list? So you
distribution
can make
list.
sure the finance committee gets it. All
I
right,
will.
thank you.
You got it.
For some reason, I'm on
Makes
that
it-
list.
Well, if you want to be responsible for
No,
distributing.
no.
I was gonna say, I have plenty to do, you can feel free to take that one on.
I know, right, I know.
No thanks.
He's your backup.
I would love your newsletter.
Post, we talked about that last night.
I would read
Really
that.
like- But
I-
I looked
Oh, yeah,
posted on the
that's a
town
great idea.
website too.
That would be awesome. Yeah, we're working on revitalizing the town website, or totally
Yeah.
revamping it right
Doing it
now,
with the schools,
so that maybe it's functional.
so that maybe ours is.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Share that with you.
That's a good
Great
idea.
idea.
Yeah.
Have it on the town website.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
like it.
Indeed.
All right,
So
what else?
Kid
All right, you want to move on?
Yes.
Please.
Tohoto.
You made
Okay.
comments.
Oh, okay. So we'll
Thanks for that digression.
yep. Tohoto, administration, small change. Instructional support, an increase slightly. I'm just gonna do a very quick,
Yeah, I appreciate it.
yeah. Other services was a decrease. That was due to the transportation. Most of them kind of run along the same way. Maintenance and operations increased slightly, same reasons, mainly electricity. Benefits actually dropped at Tohoto, which was great. Same thing as district personnel. And movement of personnel. And out-of-district tuitions dropped slightly, but that was because we received more circuit breakers, so we used more funds out of circuit breaker.
This is a question I know the answer to, I think.
Yeah.
So your electricity rates at Tohoto don't benefit from the group aggregate rates that we get in Berlin, right?
No.
No, because it goes by
I
town.
just wanted to confirm that because I remember
Yeah.
that was a thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it goes
And
by
I wondered if
physical
it had been
location.
resolved. No.
Unfortunately not.
Okay.
We
Yeah, it
got
goes
hit
by-
hard last year with
Yeah.
electricity. It was
Does
crazy.
Boylston not have electricity aggregation?
You can do a solar farm or anything?
What does that mean? What do you mean electricity aggregation?
So the town of Berlin participates in what's called electricity aggregation, where we go out to bid for electricity for the
Oh, I-
whole town. And we basically get a lower rate because of the purchase power of having that large group of
Mine is-
people.
My personal one has gone up constantly.
So the way you would
I can
know
talk to
is
April
there's
about it,
two,
but-
there's two line items on your National Grid bill. One is the service, which comes from National Grid, and then the supply.
Yeah.
If it says National Grid, then you're not on aggregation. If it has a different company, then you're either on aggregation
We
or
don't
you're
have
from a
National
different
Grid.
company.
Ours goes through the Boylston Light Department.
Oh,
Is
so
that-
you have the
is that
light
what you
department.
get?
It's a municipal light
Same.
department.
Yes.
Wow, they're
Yes.
municipal.
And it goes up, it's.
Yes.
So
Okay.
the light department's
answers that
negotiating.
question.
Yep.
Okay.
No, we
Oh.
don't have National Grid. No.
Got it,
And same
okay.
thing for the water.
Okay.
But is BMS doing the town in Berlin, the aggregate, or did you go out and individually bid for, or whatever contract?
Typically, so
I'm not positive.
the aggregation, there's a residential aggregation and a commercial aggregation, so they would be part of whatever the commercial, building
Right,
aggregation
but they could
would be.
individually just go out themselves if they didn't want, I mean, that was automatic. If you didn't do something to stop it,
Yep.
you were gonna get stuck with National
Right.
Grid.
Right.
Otherwise, you had, you just, the whole town moved to it unless you went out individually and contracted with your supplier.
Yes.
I thought the aggregator was automatic. You had to opt out of it.
Yes,
It
you have to
is.
opt out of
Okay.
it.
Yep.
But you could still
But there
go
are
and-
different rates
I'll look
for
into it.
Right,
commercial
yeah, yeah.
business
Yeah, this is
versus.
significant.
It's a school commercial.
Well, we've been
Business
into it
versus
a number of years, but
residential.
the significant savings right now is the fact that if people that weren't on it, or had opted out, have had a significant increase over
Yeah.
the last
I'd have to
year and a
look, too,
half.
'cause some towns
But
it's
Clearly
ours,
that's us.
but ours
How it
is,
in Berlin.
it comes up for renewal 1 in 24. We don't have a lot longer on our present.
I'll have to look into that.
Not
Yeah.
sure if
Yeah, it
that's,
happens
Energy
every so many
Committee's been
years.
talking about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah, and then most likely it'll be a big jump
Yeah.
in.
It's usually 3 years that the bid goes out for. And then, you have the power of 30, however many households and businesses you have, and you get a good price for those years, and then you go back out. So when we had the huge spike also in the winter of 22, I think it was 22, I think. It was really beneficial to have, because National Grid went up, I think, like 30 cents or something over what.
Unfortunately, that's probably
Aggregators are.
what we're looking at once ours does expire.
Yeah.
We'll be looking at, it just delayed.
Yeah, it will be different.
Kristen, we'll touch base with you about that.
Sure.
So thanks for that.
I don't know if we're
All
considering.
right, so we want to look
Yeah,
Berlin
and
in
it may,
that.
it may be the same here. I have to check to see how ours is set up, but yeah.
Yeah.
Just reach out to me, we'll figure it out.
Nancy, the high level on the, like, I'm looking at Tohoto, your sheet on Tohoto, and it, next to the word Tohoto, it says 53% of final budget. What does that mean?
The Tohono portion was 53%.
Oh, of the district.
Yes,
budget.
yes,
District.
yes, yes.
Okay.
And then, anybody else before we move on?
I'm good.
Revenues. One of the requests that you guys asked for was a history of revenues from fiscal year 20 through fiscal year 23. I broke those out for you, as you'll see. Broke them out for all the revenues. I also put in there, I thought it was beneficial to take a look at the capital and the circuit breaker. You could see what we received.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks
Yep,
for doing that.
yep. Circuit breaker is not just for Berlin on this.
Yeah.
This is
No,
in
district.
total, right, district, yep. And then expenses is the total for each school. I just did BMS in Tohoto.
Circuit breaker went way down in 22 and then way
Right.
up again in 23.
Yeah, yep,
That's really interesting.
yep.
Well, that reflects the numbers, the students.
That was the,
Yeah.
That's why
right,
it's so hard to budget.
Correct.
because it's in arrears.
Yep.
It's also interesting, Chapter 70 state aid went up substantially from,
I'm thinking it was to make up because of COVID. So there
Oh,
was the
okay.
freeze from 20 to 21. And, you know, I think they were trying
I
to.
haven't been following that in the legislature. Like, is that?
It's the
Do
same
we
as
know
it's
what
probably
state-
been
what-
for
do
the
we know what
last 10
state
years,
that's
right?
in?
It's the same state where they're pushing, and
Okay.
yeah.
Well, the predictions from March out of the state, last March, were, I think it was 19% increase on transportation, and you can see that
Hmm.
in these numbers.
Yep.
I don't remember what they said about Chapter 70. I don't think it was that kind of increase, but it was an increase.
This wasn't all the increase, though. We also had an increase in our transportation costs,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
but I think we definitely got a better reimbursement. Yeah. Yeah.
charter school revenue making that big jump.
Yeah.
What brought that on, do you know? Just out of curiosity.
Just different kids. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
More-
And they're
more
young.
virtual schools also
Yeah.
that are going on.
And they're the younger
Oh, yeah, that's
age,
after
you know,
COVID.
they're
Oh. Okay.
More started to open up, more opportunities there, yeah.
Got it.
And also a
And that
couple
makes
more
sense,
charter
yeah.
schools opened up.
yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, I can say they're the younger grades, so the revenue should stay, but you just don't know when people are gonna go.
People go back and forth.
Right,
I
so.
see, yeah.
Right, so you just don't know.
Remind me where school choice funds go.
What, you mean like what they're applied to?
Where do they, like, how are they coming in? What level? Like, what's the dollar amount?
So school choice for BMS for fiscal year '24. I didn't,
Is it someone I just looked at? It
no,
and I
you
didn't
don't
see
have,
it?
I don't think you
Okay.
have it. But I have it in front of you, so I can give you a brief. My
Okay.
projection for fiscal year '24 for school choice is about $53,000. And approximately $131,000 will be spent it's applied to the budget, leaving a balance of about $500,000.
Okay.
You don't have
Yeah.
any of the revolving fund revenue on this revenue actuals, correct?
No, I just put circuit
Nope.
breaker on there.
All right,
That's
that
it.
makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. Except for the circuit breaker, okay.
Yeah.
What
And then,
was the amount that will be spent? Estimated amount that will be spent?
131.
131, thank you.
yep. All preliminary, because, you know.
Sure. Oh, no, I, absolutely.
Tohoto, I'll quickly cover that one too.
Sure.
So the revenue for Tohoto, projecting 392,000, projecting spending 659, ending balance at 503.
The other piece to note too with the school choices, we're taking in no school choice in Berlin at this point. We've
Yeah.
stopped that. We're really taking in school choice
You had us
in Tohoto. We have
Okay.
spaces
I
there.
remember we discussed that years ago
Yeah,
in the
we
committee,
just-
there was a declining opportunity for that.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't have the
You
seats.
said school choice, right?
School choice.
Yeah, okay,
I'm glad
okay.
I'm
No,
done.
We
okay,
have
good.
a few,
Okay.
but we need to wait and see.
Could you
what
remind me
happens
what the
with
total on
those
BMS was?
are
I
the
apologize.
challenges.
So
I got the
BMS
53, the 131, and then I went blank on,
The expense?
yeah.
At this point in time, 131.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But it's going down. I mean, in '22, the ending balance was about 613, then it went to 578 last year, and now it's going to 501. Next year, it's dropping to 345. I mean, it's, quickly-
I remember even, you know,
Yeah.
back then, we were discussing, it was like, we're moving towards like very
yeah,
little
the cliff
school
is in.
choice.
It's,
Like,
you're hitting, yeah,
Yeah, it's disappearing slowly.
yeah. And we're not, did you just touch base? I was talking about how we're not really accepting.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Which has been
Yeah.
hard for us. I mean, we've
Yeah.
used that prudently, but it was there. It was our
Absolutely.
rainy day
Mhm.
fund,
Yeah.
really. So that's a challenge.
Yeah.
I'm assuming if you don't have the seats available, right, to be veterans.
Fewer and fewer seats, and
Yeah.
and what seats we do have available, we're trying to hold off because we don't know with the community growing what grade,
Right.
what students are coming in and what grade levels. So we need to hold. So we'll have seats first for residents. But Tohoto is different, it does have more spaces. High school, certainly, and some of the middle school grades.
And Mr. Honto probably gets, because of the kids going to ASVET.
Yes,
and that stuff.
especially that grade, yeah. But like our 6th grade this year is close to 100 students. I think it's like 95, 97 in 6th grade.
Wow, that's big.
Yeah.
I know it sounds silly to say that, but it's big.
And you know, too, the other things, we have to watch the numbers in both elementary schools because it does feed into Tohoto.
Well, yeah, I know that was going back a number of years ago. There wasn't really good coordination between Boylston and Berlin. And they were kind of looking at their elementary school, and then the numbers didn't work out when they hit
Yeah.
Tohoto.
We're really mindful of that now. The principals definitely are. I know John over in Berlin is so familiar with that, and we have been watching that collectively since.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
We'll be back.
Yes.
Be back.
Good to
Thank
see
you
you.
guys. This was good, yeah. So Mary will, let you know about our subcommittee meetings, but you guys are always welcome to come to the subcommittee meetings. We usually meet like on the Thursday or Friday around 10:30 in the morning.
When is your next one?
Well, I don't know if I've had enough.
One is, well, at the
Usually
beginning
brings
of the
stuff.
month, it's just-
Brings
and
things.
if you-
I can bring coffee.
How are your holidays? so far?
Julie sometimes makes muffins.
I do.
Where do you guys meet
Well,
usually?
I'm right in central office.
Oh, this
It'll be
Okay.
every
I'm
week.
done with my shopping.
That's at Hillside.
But my house is
Okay.
in boxes.
Do you know Hillside?
In
was-
Boylston, it's in Boylston, right near the police, it's in the police, actually, it's in the
Okay.
police, Boylston.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thursday.
You walk into the police office and you go upstairs.
Basically,
It's you,
You
so
wouldn't
this
even
one
know
is,
it's there.
I'm sorry, Julie, when is our next one? Is it a Thursday?
Yeah,
Is it a Thursday or Friday?
Okay.
January 5th, 10:30.
You can always check on my January.
Down the hill,
Okay.
backyard.
I think
like
it's
way down the hill,
tomorrow.
but
Yes.
it's like a big commercial
invite
building,
Chief
like a metal
Sharper?
building.
We did not, and we talked about this last night at the school.
yeah.
Julie asked this last night at the school committee meeting. Oh, I'm sorry. We're meeting tomorrow to discuss the forum. The forum is not going to be until January 22nd. We plan to invite Berlin to the forum.
Right.
But tomorrow, what we're doing is we're sitting down with John Annunziata and the Boylston Select Board to go over cost and, because this position is going to report into the
That one-
Boylston
because
Police
that one-
Department.
I just wanna
So it's going to
double-
have nothing to do with,
Because I have
this
the
part of the
official
conversation
warrant.
is not going to have anything to do with Berlin. And then when we go to the forum, where do we want this person, do people want this in the schools, do people want it at all the schools, what do they want? That's when I think it makes sense to bring Berlin in. Right now, we're just looking for one for Tohoto
Country road. It was fun.
right now. And then that would go between Tohoto and Boylston Elementary.
This is
That'd be
the-
funded.
so you see
That would be,
how
it would be funded, and then a piece would have to be built back to Berlin
Well,
that's the
through the Tohoto.
That's the point. We want the Berlin police voice in it because it's coming back here.
Julie mentioned that last night, and I don't disagree with that.
And I, so we literally did. We were like, the meeting's tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow there wouldn't be any, this is just John and
I'm in Millbury.
Boylston Chief of Police, John Annunziata, and how he wants this structured and just kind of setting up this forum. But I do think it would make sense to have the Berlin
Like, at least they turn the sirens off.
police input moving forward. So yeah, we'll definitely discuss that. Carol and I meet weekly. We're going through a change now too, because I just became chair a couple weeks ago, and unfortunately. Thank you. Well, I had a trip to Disney World planned with my family, so I became chair, and then we left for Disney for a week, and then we came home, and we've all been sick with COVID, so it's been great.
That is the way you're supposed to do it, is to go ahead and do what you're going to do.
It's all good now.
You have to, right? I don't have a
neighbor
choice.
across the
Anyway,
street shuts down.
thank you guys. This was great. That's why I gotta take my daughter to that. Thank you. I appreciate this. I'm looking forward to working with you guys.
Yep,
It was
same
great
We
to
have one of
meet
those
you.
too.
Yes.
Thanks, Mary. Good to see you. Wonderful. Everyone.
Yes.
I get lucky to sit next to you.
Okay, February 7th, perfect.
You did something right in a prior life.
Is that Wednesday?
Yeah, we always meet Wednesdays.
Okay. I'm like, wait, it's not Tuesday, right? Because we always meet Tuesdays.
Special vacation.
No way.
So
Yeah, it's on my bucket list. My husband's like, let's do it. We're going in February.
And Megan?
the following fiscal year. So they have a formula.
So I'm very, that's on my bucket
Okay,
list.
then
So I'm very happy.
30%
Yeah.
reimbursement reimbursement after those.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's from the state.
Yeah, have the best time.
Unfortunately,
Never gone on a vacation where like you didn't have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
take
yeah.
the
Next
babysitter,
facility.
right?
Right?
You have to eat all the
See you later.
expenses. So, as a result, it can be very
I'll let you know, work Tuesday nights, so
lumpy
Wednesday should be
inside
fine.
because
Is it one lump sum payment or is it just?
I don't
Great.
know exactly what happens in these days, but yeah.
Thank you guys. Thank you so
That's
much.
okay.
Christy, good
But-
to see you.
Good to see you too. No, it was my fault. Nancy
we
and I
get
got
married back
derailed on
here.
houses.
We have just a little bit more business and next submit our budget.
When it says Berlin assessment, what is that? Is it like assess the whole school or?
That, what they're saying is what we give them are.
Oh, we give them.
But, right. They call it an assessment,
Okay.
but it's not an assessment in the traditional sense that you
Okay.
think of, like what
Okay, got it.
Assabet assesses us on a per pupil basis.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and Eloise and I know each other well.
All right, so we'll need to cover our own budgets, which is the,
So what is this? Because it all goes out of your head, right?
we have to, I mean, we can always change this, but what we're going to have
Completely
for
off topic, sorry.
a reserve fund and also our own budget.
about that at 19 Carter
We did.
I have a fantastic suggestion to make this go really simple. Level funded.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I mean, first of all, we can modify it at any time, so there's not any
It's 18, they
particular.
could vote at town meeting, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow,
I
that
love
is-
I love the idea
So
that
what are we looking at?
education, because the 11th.
That was my directive in the
Yeah, the
budget.
first one is our expenses, which was $180 budgeted last year.
Link's doing that in Worcester, we're going in.
And
Those
we've
on their
spent,
projects. Yes.
8th grade,
Is this
we have it,
the,
and
uh,
yes,
the-
too. So you should
Yes.
see what they do.
168, and we already,
I'll try to remind them to.
we actually paid for our
There's
president.
also some people that have come out from Worcester and some people I know around town.
Who said that we
Do we have to look at
No,
these
that-
things that you sent
actually
with
do
the
the
election
registration.
stuff?
That's great.
Right. Bring
For
them
the-
forms, sign them up, or do them
Sent
online.
election
Image,
stuff?
image
I'll
cast,
email you tomorrow. So that
bundle.
we're good.
I never saw that, and I went to the meeting.
Kristen, we'll talk next week, or,
All right.
I'll talk to you about that other thing. With Dave, because that might save that save.
Oh, just
that save.
since we've met.
And I think we
saw
need
these,
it too,
invoices.
so-
I don't know if we have to talk about which one.
Right. Bye,
care.
good night, everyone.
Good night, Carol, thank you.
I did want
Oh.
to, I did want to let the committee know that I did go to the first
We're looking into it right now.
Oh, okay.
introductory presentation for the voting system
Oh, there
last
you go.
week.
Okay.
He's the guy.
I went, I was going to go tomorrow night for the next one, maybe, we'll see. There was no talk of money. They just showed how the system worked.
Yeah, there's a quote. They did supply
So
some
what quote came in
quotes.
now?
Yeah, that's what I printed off.
And where was that from?
This is the
November
LH
8th.
LHZ one?
Yeah,
or
LHS Associates.
Yes, but
And I don't know who presented, because I couldn't go to that one, but I can go to this one.
because there was nothing like that at that presentation.
Oh, of course, because they don't talk money until you decide you want to go with them. But, you know, they'll give you an idea of how much things cost. But at the
Yeah.
demo, they don't talk money.
Oh, yeah, they just want,
They want to.
they want the next
They
step.
want to hook you on it.
Yes.
And then you go, I can't live without this. And
Oh,
by
yeah.
the way, it's $40 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have, the next one is about to coming in tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow. Yeah,
Okay,
before-
so that's just one
capital.
vendor, okay. good.
Correct.
So
So
you
there's
got,
two vendors we're looking at. And we would be seeking, so this is really up to kind of the town clerk and her registrars and
Okay.
election workers as to what they feel most comfortable
So not
with.
us. Okay.
Because I really want, I mean, this is a big decision for the town to go in this direction. Obviously, the problem is, the last election, there were a small number of people who were here till 4 o'clock in the morning, many of them older. And that's not ideal. And the volunteers dwindle as the years go on. And it's going to get to the point where we don't have enough people willing, because the ones who did stay now are like burned out and don't want to stay till 4 a.m.
I
again,
don't
which
blame
I
'em.
totally
oh,
understand.
God, yeah.
So we really need to come up with a long-term solution for addressing this, and maybe we display the ballot box and people can take their picture next to it and say, I voted, or, you know, we do something that honors the history, but also kind of moves us into the 21st century so people don't have to stay all night counting ballots.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. You know, I attended the meeting and, you know, at the end, I said, my thought was, Well, the people who work at the polls all the time are the people who would be the makers of the decision. You know, I was
Correct.
I was just there to hear the presentation, and although I worked at the polls with Mary,
Well, you count then.
you know,
He can count and he counts.
yes, we actually tabulate quite well. But you know, it's like I thought that that the town clerk's office would be the people who would say, yeah, this system works best for us. We can see how this works.
Yes, it needs to come, the direction needs to come from them, because I initially said if we could seek, there's a potential of seeking a state earmark, possibly for this,
Wow.
possibly, or looking at whether we use free cash for a one-time purchase at town meeting. Then obviously you have to fund the ongoing, if there's an ongoing cost for software maintenance, which most of these programs rope you into, or systems rope you into. But it's really important that there be buy-in from, first and foremost, the town clerk, the registrars, and the voters. So if there's potential of state funding, it wouldn't necessarily have to go to town meeting. If there isn't, then it would need to go to town meeting, because we don't have, obviously, funds sitting around that we could just allocate to that right now.
So one thing I do know is that this system, LHS, they don't have, I'm not going to get the term right, but they don't have like the check-in, check-out thing, check-in, check-out system. You know how when you go to vote, you check in, then you deposit your ballot. No, you check out and then you deposit your ballot.
So it doesn't
So
link to
this-
the registry of voters?
So this system doesn't have a tabulator checking you in and checking you out. However, those systems are sold separately.
Oh, gosh.
Well, I
course,
will,
yeah.
yeah, of course. I'll
And
tell you.
they don't produce them. They don't have anything to do with them.
I think that's probably what we had in my former community, where you had the registrars checking people in and checking people out, and really the machine was just to make sure your ballot gets counted. And I know Peg was there, and she said you can put that ballot in sideways, frontways, backwards, however, and you know it's you really can't screw it up.
Yeah.
So that's a positive.
It is goof-proof.
So idiot-proof, yeah.
Pretty much, but you do have
I use
the
the kind
physical,
word.
the manual labor part of it, unless you get the additional.
And within 15 minutes, you have a tally.
Correct. And then
For the whole town?
It'll print out a
Yes.
tape.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no more 4 in the morning, there you go.
Well, we're one of the last ones to report, I think.
So,
You know, I'm fresh off a legal and voters meeting, and we had somebody from the clerk's office in Worcester talk to us about voting an election in the city. And I know from a talk like that I went to 6-7 years ago that maybe not that long ago, but implementing early voting, they went to, because it's a city, a lot of districts, we just have the one district, right? It's complex. So they had, their workers were all got iPads. So between the state and the city of Worcester, they
iPads.
know the equipment,
Yep.
right?
oh, the
And-
state
And
knows.
that's a resource to us. I mean, call Nico at the clerk's office in Worcester.
Yeah,
on
Eloise
this
reached
stuff.
out to her network, and I believe that's how these machines were
So she's already been there.
sourced. So
Yeah.
Okay.
she has a clerk's network that she participates in.
But this other point about, do you integrate it with your registry of voters?
Yeah.
Apparently
You don't
systems don't do that.
have to, but you can. I mean, you do need to have somebody there overseeing the process
Oh, God,
anyway.
yeah.
So checking in and checking out is not that big of a
Important,
deal. But of course, it would be nice if they sold it to you comprehensively.
Yeah.
Well, right, it would make, like the task of same-day registration, which we don't have, is nearly impossible unless you have that coordination.
True.
Well,
So
so-
poll pads is something else that Eloise has been
Poll
talking
tabs.
about.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Pull pads.
Pull
It's like an
pads.
iPad.
Pull
It's an
tabs.
Oh,
iPad
this is- okay.
to check that person against the registry.
It was
of
it was
voters.
interesting because early voting, they would just be putting the ballots in the machines, and they said that you can take the mail-in ballots and put them in So like it really speeds the process.
Oh, yeah, you put them all and you lock them up, and then you put them in the machine on
Blank.
voting day.
Yeah.
On voting day, right, you
Yeah.
tally on voting day, but you can
Correct.
open them, get them prepped to scan.
Yep.
Yep.
As they come in,
Yep.
so that you don't have a backlog of work
We just
on
have to
election
scan
day.
there.
Exactly. But it's really no different than what they're doing when you're manually doing it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's still
that's
the
right.
same process, you're just using a machine to do it instead of a person.
Yeah,
And it goes
To read
faster.
it, basically.
Correct.
yeah.
It's like the SATs, you know, you like fill
Yeah,
in
they
the
have
little
circles.
bubbles.
Yeah, it's those little circle things.
Well, when you, I actually have a question, because when you do the counting, is anybody a paid worker
Mhm.
after the polls close? Or is
Oh.
it all volunteers after the poll? 'Cause-
Some people refuse to be paid, right, and others
Yeah.
get paid.
So shortening that time after the poll closes to do the tabulation means you're also paying for less.
There's a cost savings, absolutely.
Okay. It might not
Good
be
point.
a lot, but it should
No,
be, but
but-
it should be pointed out because that's a good record of, one of the things that happens is when you have volunteer time, it's often considered infinite.
Well, that's what I was just gonna say, I think we don't wanna be
Paid time,
abusive.
It's very discreet, it's a very discreet number of paid time.
Great way of saying it, because I was thinking we don't want to be abusive to our volunteers, but the way you said it is classier than the way I was thinking of it. But yes, I was on the same lines as you.
All right, let's do the last piece of business we need to finish up, and that's submitting our budget. So our expense budget, well, each of the last 2 years, we went up $5 last year. We went from 175 to
Oh, gosh.
180. Of course, our expenditures went up by $5, our dues. So both times we were left with a balance of $12. So assuming our dues isn't going to jump up significantly, if we go with a level fund, at least for now, that'll be $180. So anybody have any other thoughts?
That's for our membership.
So you need $12?
No, well, we'll just go level fund. We should.
Hopefully
we have
have
$12
$12
buffer
Oh,
based on
I got-
our.
I think I got 20 in my
Scott,
wallet.
for our new members, do they want to go to that one-day training?
That new officials,
Yeah, there's a small fee with that, isn't there?
yeah, I can't
Oh,
remember.
Mondays-
Like
how much it was.
$15?
No, it
15?
was either
Mondays are
50 or
hard.
80.
I could
Yeah.
do a Tuesday. Is it remote or anything, or is it like
don't-
Over at
recorded?
Holy Cross, that's where I went. I think that's a
That was
favorite
during
place
the
to do
day,
it.
though.
It was during the day.
If they have another day, Mondays are hard for me. I have to work.
Why?
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
remember
know.
what
I don't.
day. I know it
Foundations
wasn't
and
a Monday
municipal
'cause I went.
finance for the new official.
Yeah, I know it wasn't. a
Well,
Monday.
just for our budget, do we want to put some money in there in case
You would want
one
to,
or both
'cause-
of them
yeah.
would want to?
But that would be for
They
next,
have virtual
next
training
year.
modules for it now.
Okay.
Yeah, watch the stuff you sent me.
Just send me. I don't
There's
think I have
online
it.
stuff too that you can.
Yeah,
They
watch
launched
some of that
it
stuff.
last November.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
saw that on the
Yeah, just let me know. I don't
Yeah.
know anything
DLS
about it.
email.
Could
Yeah.
you send that to me too? I kind of missed out on this because I came in during COVID, so
Absolutely.
none of this stuff is going.
I will email this to everyone.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, right now we only
can
have
do it at your
for this
leisure,
fiscal year
in
we
your
only have
PJs.
$12 in our.
Okay, well.
I mean, we could do a reserve fund transfer or
Look at you
whatever.
jumping for-
Could do that, yes,
Um,
you could.
I mean, we weren't anticipating if anybody wanted to go. So, I mean, what is the number on it? Is it?
Does
yeah,
it
they
say
were there
how
from
much?
50 to.
I don't even know if they offer it
Sorry.
anymore now that they have the virtual
Oh, if
municipal
it's-
center. I didn't see a cost for training, just said they've launched their new virtual center, here it is.
I don't think there's a fee on the virtual stuff.
Oh, no.
It's because they give you lunch when you walk in,
Oh.
you know, to Holy Cross.
So we'll stick with the virtual.
So how about a little budget for cookies when we're in the real intense budget season?
I will get you cookies.
I can
How's
get
that?
We don't need to put that in our,
I
I'm just
can get
thinking about what
cookies.
we might need, you know. This is what
Don't
people
worry
do.
about it, I get cookies, you just tell me what you want. and I
I'll bring the
can-
milk,
want
how's
a
that? Do we
TE
need
cookie
milk with the
maker.
cookies or are we
I think
allowed to
level
use
funding
flour?
is great.
Yeah. 100, and then for the reserve fund is 110,000. We actually bumped it up last year. It was, what was it the year before? Was it like 95?
Yeah, I think it was.
Was it 95?
I've been in too many meetings today.
Or was it that much?
And this is for the whole town, right? That reserve fund? Talking
Yes.
About? Okay.
Yes.
It's not just
Not the
FinCom.
school.
Oh, no, just, no, I just wanted to
Again,
make sure.
we,
Not
this
the
is
school,
our
not the schools.
projection.
No
Yep.
school.
No.
This is
What does
our
your email
projection
start
moving
with?
forward here,
J.
so
Yeah.
we can
J
always change it.
S hair design.
This is,
Oh, you know what, because I've never emailed you from my phone, so it's not
Oh,
coming
okay.
up. JMS Hair Design at,
Gmail.com.
Perfect.
Yeah, it was
Cool, thank you,
it was
Kristen.
95,000. So we'll stick at 110,000, we can always change it.
I'm also
what's that-
going to
what's actually called?
request upping the legal budget,
well,
so
this is,
hopefully we
reserve
won't have
fund,
to tap into
and
it
the other
like we
is
will
just
need to
FinCom
this
We
year.
just call it reserve fund.
Yeah, well, actually,
That's
it's
up.
Department
Well, you have to
130.
do realistic.
Reserve fund is Department 132.
The reality is-
And our expense line is
School district had
I'm
to
just
130.
gonna
raise
put
their
it in
legal
this.
budget. Yeah, I wonder
Yeah, I
what-
mean, you can see,
Yeah.
you
No,
want
I
to go
get
by
it.
how it's listed
I get it.
on, the terminology is FinCom expenses
Hope
and
it doesn't
reserve
have to
fund.
begin.
Okay.
Well, that happened while I was in school committee too, because we fired some of it. We didn't
Was
go
that from the
well.
thing that happened earlier this year?
There was a,
Yeah.
there was a departure.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
A year
I
ago. A year ago.
I remember
Yeah.
seeing the video. It's like, oh.
All right, do we need to take a vote on this?
Sure.
And sign it, I guess. All right, so we have a motion. Let's just do the motion for reserve, FinCom expenses, Department number 131 for $180.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
And, all right, so any other questions? All right, roll call, Scott, aye.
Aye. Cliff?
Yeah.
Shane, I.
All right. Start passing on that one. Just
Where do I
put my
sign?
signature on
Right
it.
I was gonna say, I think you only have to do the chair on that.
Well, I have one at the top here, I have no idea.
All
If
right.
that. We'll have everything
We get a
covered.
signature.
Well, we
on it.
started, we might as well keep it.
Then the next one, motion for the Finance Committee, Reserve Fund, Department 132 for $110,000. Do we have a second for that?
Sorry, what are we spending it on?
110,000, Reserve
For the
Fund.
reserve.
Oh, yeah, I'll second that, sorry.
All right, any other questions? And roll call, Scott, aye.
Mary, aye.
Julie, I.
Shane, I.
Cliff, aye.
Signature, done typing.
This is so cool, look at that, 5 signatures.
Right down the line.
This is weird.
Boom, boom, boom.
Don't feel, get cocky.
It wasn't
Go think
that
about
long
it.
ago, I mean,
I
it
was gonna
was,
say, I don't remember how long it's been since we've actually had a full 5.
It's been a
it
while.
was after the first meeting in February, that's when Stan
Oh,
resigned.
no, you're right, yeah.
So it wasn't actually that long. I mean, I was on the Finance Committee for previously, what was it, 6.5 years, and we were only at 5 for half of the year.
Yeah.
Actually, it wasn't even half the year because Judy got elected to the school committee and wasn't even there for the last month.
May I share briefly just one piece of information with you in regard to the legal budget?
Sure.
It's blowing out quickly. So
This goes to you.
the legal budget is
Did I sign the other
75,000.
one?
As
Oh, yes.
of earlier this week or last week, I'm sorry, the days start to blend together, we have expended $49,000. And we are not quite halfway through the fiscal year. Now, a chunk of that does belong to recent work on Highland Ridge. As you may be aware, the threat of litigation has been raised on the part of the developer. So we have had to get town council, well, we actually had town council involved before to assist us with matters leading up to this. But essentially, the developer wants the Conservation Commission to lift the cease and desist. They so far are not, and this may result in court filing. So we're paying attention to that, and that will have to come forward for a reserve fund transfer. Right now, we're paying it out of the legal budget until we get a few bills, you know, together, and then we'll bring those forward.
What
So
did
we get-
developer do again?
So there was a number of erosion, basically wetlands violations from
Yep.
erosion issues.
Okay.
And essentially failure to complete the Conservation Commission's requirements for remediating.
Okay.
Though, and putting measures in place that
Yeah.
would remediate the issues on site. They issued a cease and desist order on all activity on construction-wise on the site until
Yep.
the developer cleans it up. And they actually lifted it earlier because there was progress. So I think it was in September they lifted it. And then they started to not see progress again, so they put the cease and desist back in place.
I think also the remediation wasn't effective.
I believe you're
And,
correct as well. I mean, that's all said in public meetings, so
Who's the
that's
developer?
nothing we can't say here.
Who's the developer? You guys say.
Stephen Vitacasa, he calls his outfit, what the heck do they call themselves? Well, it's an LLC up there like they all do.
Casa Realty is the realtor
That's his daughter,
arm.
yeah.
Mm.
She does the sales,
Yep.
her outfit.
So right now, there's a number of units left to be sold that cannot be sold because they're under a cease and desist, and obviously that's concerning to a developer. But we believe that the measures taken were appropriate, and we need the fix to be implemented in order for us to move forward and release those units from being put on hold. Otherwise, we're going to have major long-term issues in the town.
The street and drainage around there doesn't seem to be working, and the soil on the yards and so on just washes off the hill. So it's got, there's.
Well, and the rains
serious
this
issues.
summer didn't help. There's some timing issues involved in the amount of rain that we had.
Oh,
but
God, yeah. This
there
was
was
an
some
unusual summer with all the rain.
Absolutely, but there
God.
were some recommendations not followed and minor fixes that would have made a huge difference.
Yeah.
The same conditions came up, and I documented them 2 years ago.
Hmm.
Soil washing off the hillside, everything
Sure.
washing off the hillside.
Is that up
Oh.
here, like on the
It's
hill?
It's on Highland Street.
Highland Street, okay.
Yeah.
Highland Street. I'll have to
So
check it out.
I just want to make sure, and we are working to make sure from an enforcement perspective that the town is enforcing all of the, code, conservation,
Mhm.
Board of Health powers that it has.
Affordable units,
There are affordable units up there.
accessible units.
I presume there are accessible
There's a
units
percent
up
under
there.
our zoning bylaws,
Yep,
for each of those,
yep.
separately.
I would believe, I don't know the exact composition of all of the units, but I believe there are both up there. I know they're affordable because I've had some people reach out to me. But at this point, we can't really comment further other than there are going to be some legal fees, which
Already at 49.
already have 49, and that's not from Highland Ridge. That's a little bit from Highland Ridge. A lot of that has to do with various personnel matters that I've had to handle since the start of the fiscal year. And I will, say the same thing to you that I've said to the select board. It's certainly incumbent upon me to make sure that we're running things properly and holding people accountable, and unfortunately sometimes that has a cost.
Yes.
But until the select board tells me otherwise, I will continue to go down this path because we need to run effectively. That's all I had.
And just the last thing, just our next meeting on January 3rd, and we have expected to come in, will be, police, which they cover animal control, communications, and fire EMS.
Yes.
So basically all public safety.
Public safety except highway.
Okay. Just make sure I have that. Okay, so this is the current one here, right? Because I got that one
He's
there.
got an old, it says old on that one. Do you have?
I wrote that. I think I mixed it up.
If
Because this,
If
okay.
this has the school stuff on today's, this is the new one.
Okay, but this is like,
This is,
Wait a second,
is what it
Finance
should look
Committee.
but there isn't a date on the form.
I know. You know why I took the date off? Because I am terrible at remembering to change that date, and then they all look different with the same date, and that's even worse. So if let me see that one. I can tell you if it's the most recent one.
that's all right.
It should
That's
have
right. So the
just.
third is this
Well,
one.
let me see here.
Yeah.
My up-to-date.
Okay.
In a certain part.
That's correct.
That's fine.
So January 3rd is me, the treasurer collector, and the library.
Oh, actually, so this is the correct
Oh,
one.
so I've got the old
Okay.
one.
Okay.
Alright.
So this is old. That baby's
Let me
coming
see if I
out.
can find the new one.
And we put police and fire together, but we had to move them back a week because.
Right. Okay, perfect. I just wanna make
Chief
sure.
Shartner
Okay.
is away for a few days, I believe, at some point in that period, during that period of time.
And April 1st, the budget is live.
So are we done or?
Just a heads up, we are gonna need a couple of reserve funds that I'm aware of. One is gonna be, I think it's $500 for the audit. And the other one is gonna be a small, like think it was 200, maybe a little bit more than $200 for the Conservation Committee wages. Those were two of the items, I think, that when we had the budget finalized and then when school happened, we had to recalculate and cut everything and then redo. And I think those were two that slipped through the cracks,
Yeah.
I think.
Was that the 12 or 16-hour a week?
The 8.
It was
No.
actually more so due to the market rate increase.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just a couple others to add, because I got a running list that we've talked about before. Facilities, we need to, eventually, you're gonna have to add about $16,000 for Mora's for the cleaning, because we subbed that out. Legal, we just discussed.
That's out of reserve.
That would be a reserve fund transfer, and then we would work to put it in the budget for FY '25. And then there is a vacation payout out of the select board budget for about $4,800 that we're floating right now until we get to the point that we can't float that anymore, and we will have to come forward for a reserve fund transfer.
So I guess the question would be too, is do we want to do them now? Because we, like, the audit is contracted and the other one is going to be happening. I didn't know if this was something you'd like to do sooner rather than later, or wait until all the things are just about negative.
Well, our next meeting's January 3rd, so.
Yeah, I mean, there's no urgency on, I think, any of them per se, but I just
No.
didn't know if you wanted to wait more towards, as their budgets were getting lower versus to see. I mean, some of them, there is not going to be any way to cover.
Right. I mean, my understanding is the preference has kind of been in the past to wait and see, because it's possible that other budgeted expenses won't be needed, and we may balance out a bit. And you may need those reserve funds for something else, and if you spend them right now, then you're
Yeah.
not gonna have
They're
them
gonna have
later.
them. But as far as like contract work,
That one,
so, it's little things like that. I didn't know what your feelings were.
I guess, I mean, anything
As far
that
as timing.
you think are true urgent ones, just bring those forward. I mean, the good thing is we're gonna be meeting every week.
Right,
Once
right.
January starts, barring weather,
Yes.
so there shouldn't be any issue.
I would say you should probably bring the audit and Concom forward, because we know those aren't
Those are
going to
definite.
change.
Those aren't going to change.
Yep, and Mora's, that's one we want to wait probably a little bit on to
Because he
see how
still
that
has
shakes
other
out.
funding right now, but
Correct, and same with the select board expenses. I still have other funding
I
in
was
that
going to say
budget.
double check because yours isn't a huge budget,
Okay, I'll check on that. I'll make a note.
smaller budget. It's not consulting.
Well, I guess the only other thing too is I know myself and Cliff were for the hybrid training. So we've got
Yes.
that covered, not that I know if I actually remember exactly the details, if I'm gonna set
Mary
that
and
up.
I also went.
But-
we went.
Oh, you went in the morning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so we got 4 out of 5.
Did they give us a
Did you
cheat
show me?
sheet? I don't think-
Not yet.
What's that? What's-
We're having an ongoing
Yeah.
issue with
Okay, good.
connectivity with the
I work 2
station.
jobs, I got
so
2
it's not
kids.
out
No,
yet. Soon, I hope.
we heard the word.
Brittany's working on it with the
You're going to have
company.
to have the cheat notes.
Yeah, the cheat notes will be coming out.
Cliff notes, there we go. I like Cliff notes.
No, we don't use that word. I'm on the committee. Cliff notes.
Okay, sorry. I won't.
Oh, cheat notes is better?
Yes.
I know.
When your name's Cliff.
Bullet points.
You don't want to
Bullet
be
points.
Cliff
There we
notes.
go.
Summary.
There we go.
Summary.
Yeah, and then nobody has any issue for the next meeting, January
No.
3rd,
Don't think
no
so.
conflict.
No, I'm good.
All right, so we'll assume we're.
Motion
in
to
person.
adjourn?
Yes,
Sounds good.
all right.
All right, cool. It's a good meeting.
So, you need a second.
Or second
No.
that.
Yeah, third it.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.